recording. We are live. Hello, Twitch folks, and hello, future viewers.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
So, just a bit of a disclaimer. Something is going on with either the Twitch server or my internet because we are dropping like a third of our frames right now. The live recording of the stream is going to have some like dropped frames. You'll probably have some audio issues as well from that. But we will put the offline recording on our YouTube channel, which is in our profile. So if you wish to watch that, that's probably the better place to watch this first episode. But hey, we're glad you stopped by.
Absolutely. And just a quick introduction. This is the Football Over Family podcast where we talk about all things football because it's truly the only thing that matters. Now, some extra background is we're two brothers, and naturally, all we've talked about our entire lives is football because truthfully, that's the only thing that really makes us happy. And so we've been talking about Titans, that's my squad, and we've been talking about this man's squad, the Tampa Bay
World
Buccaneers.
champion.
World
Champa
champion.
Champa Bay.
Tampa Bay, baby. Fire the cannons.
Yeah. My name is Collin, and I am a Buccaneers fan. It has been a brutal, brutal life for me until this season, until the GOAT signed. Because now we have a quarterback that doesn't go 30 for 30 on touchdowns, interception, and instead gives us an ESPN 30 for 30 on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Hey, it sounds like you just made the pitch. You get the producers on the phone.
I'm just saying,
Uh,
ESPN, I'm free whenever you need me. Clearly, I know how to
yeah.
run a show. I only drop a third of my frames.
But then again, I ain't moving to Connecticut.
uh,
You ain't getting me out there. That place
yeah,
sucks. Not
not
about
about
it.
it.
I'm Gavin, and I'm a diehard Tennessee Titans fan. It's been more brutal for me than it's been for the Bucks. We've been to 6 AFC Championship games with 1 Super Bowl appearance, which we were 6 inches away from going to overtime against the Rams. Kevin Dyson, I appreciate your efforts. Just maybe you should have hit the weight a little bit more, and maybe some more vegetables, and your arm just would have been a little
Don't blame
longer.
Kevin Dyson.
Hey, let's
It's a
just be
team
real. It
game.
would have been a nice thing for him to get in the end zone. However, he didn't, and now I'm depressed. So I don't know. I'm blaming him.
Okay, it's his fault. I agree. Sure.
So this podcast, we're gonna get into this first episode, and it's basically just about us a little bit here. But then we're gonna jump into kind of what's happening in the NFL world right now. We're obviously 6 days out from the Super Bowl. The league year is gonna reset soon. We have the Combine virtual. Trevor Lawrence's pro day happened yesterday. Things are happening in the world, so we're just gonna dive into it.
Yeah.
First of all, if you notice our logo, a Football Over Family logo, there is a picture from 2015 when Colin and myself attended the NFL draft in Chicago.
Woo!
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the first overall pick, and the Tennessee Titans had the second overall pick. And we went ahead and flew out there. We're from Seattle, Washington, and we flew all the way out to the draft, and we met Roger Goodell, and watched our team's draft bus.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, and you wanted Marcus Mariota to be a Buccaneer, or you wanted Jameis Winston to be a Titan, and I wanted Marcus Mariota to be a Buccaneer. And instead, we got the opposite, and we both flopped, so it's okay.
Yeah. At least we weren't like the Bears and we drafted Kevin White, 7th overall. Dude played no snaps, hurt all the
Or
time.
Mitch Trubisky instead of Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
And they traded up to get Mitch
I know.
Trubisky.
It's just one of those things where in our draft, at least there wasn't any like incredible quarterback that came out that makes me regret everything.
Yeah, that'd be a fun
bust-ass
episode
year.
to do on the podcast. The 2015 redraft would be kind of a fun
We
thing
could just
to do.
do an every year redraft.
Oh yeah, no doubt. You know what I will never want to redraft on is when the Titans made the trade with the Rams and the Jared Goff trade, because we cleaned house with that trade.
Yeah, that was the Bill O'Brien style trade right there. That the Jeff Fisher Bill O'Brien style trades are incredible if you're the team that's on the good side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, God bless we didn't draft Jared Goff.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, he's not the worst. He's probably better than both Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston.
Would you say he's top 16 quarterback in the NFL?
I would. Yeah, I probably would.
I bet you he's
I bet
not.
he
I
hits.
bet
I bet he
you.
hits right about that 16. I mean, I just don't believe in guys like Tua Tagovailoa right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't say he's better than him. But Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff, which one would you pick?
Probably Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, they're right at the fringe, 16, 17,
Yeah.
18
I mean, but like
guys.
Jimmy G or Jared Goff, that's a better question.
I don't know Jimmy G's sample size. Plus, the
Uh,
dude can't stay healthy. So
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just have to go Jared Goff. I mean, also I've experienced the best of Jared Goff as a Buccaneers fan because Jared Goff has absolutely destroyed the Buccaneers. If you recall, I think 2 years ago was the game that he threw like 83 passes and completed like 60 of them, and had like 600 yards passing. So I've seen Jared Goff do well. So I
Hey,
guess I'm biased a little bit.
I saw Jared Goff in the fun fact for anyone NCAA, the most passing yards in a NCAA game in history belongs to Connor Halliday, Washington State quarterback, against Jared Goff. It was a Cal game. Final score was 60 to 59. Final score. The Cougs, where I went to school, go Cougs, got down to the 1 yard line on third down with 4 seconds remaining and kicked an 18-yard field goal and shanked it. No one touched it, not
Was that
blocked.
Fernie?
Just no, it wasn't Fernie, but
Uh.
shout out Pat Fernie, the goat. But yeah, he shanked it just right off the
So
just boom,
what
miss,
you're
game
saying
over.
is Jared Goff is a goat. I'm just messing with
I mean, he
you.
was
Top
a
16
Ram, which
quarterback?
is
You
like,
wouldn't say so. You wouldn't say he's a top 16.
if you pulled up a list, I'd say that dude's
Oof.
18.
Okay. I mean that's fair, I guess. All right.
Future episode, guaranteed.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll do that. I guess so. We can just move ahead towards what we were intending on telling the people. Future episodes of the podcast. What we're going to be doing.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about free agency, the draft. That means mock drafts. That means predictions for upcoming free agent signings, discussing the salary cap, how teams can be more flexible with their money, potential cap cuts,
Mm-hmm.
as well as training camp, a little betting stuff. And then, of course, the season itself, just, who has momentum, who's doing good, who fantasy football is going to be a huge key of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We have been in the same league together for over a decade, each with 2 championship trophies. I'm defending
Whoa.
champion currently.
I have 3, buddy.
You have 3?
Yeah.
You didn't go back to back to back though,
No,
did
I
you?
went back to back and then I won again another year
Oh.
further back. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Well, you know what? Sorry for the disrespect, but in 12 years in our household, it's been in that on that mantle 5
I know.
times. So
Do you know that I went back to back and then you won and then I won and then you won?
no JT one after me.
No, I know. You won after me. I won back to back and then you won and then JT won and then I won and then you won. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have got 5 of the last 6 championships in our league.
Hey, run it. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
All right. So it's going to be a hell of a ride, and we're excited to have you guys along. This is our first podcast we're doing. Colin, on the other hand, he has another Twitch channel where he streams awesome Apex dubs, as well as he makes tons of tasty drinks. He's a aspiring bartender on the side that enjoys his own
Home bar
thing. So,
enthusiast. Yeah. I just like
sorry,
I like exploring mixology.
I didn't know the technical term.
It's okay.
You know what I do? I just drink, bro. That's what I'm just saying. Just
Hey, if
give
you
me a
watch
drink.
my show, I drink a lot. But yeah, as far as like this podcast, we're definitely gonna be covering all of those like key points throughout the season, and we're gonna be doing a lot of like roster breakdowns and talking about the news around the league. Whatever NFL content is out there that you wish you knew, we're here to cover it. And we're only going to be doing weekly podcasts, so it's not going to be like all inclusive and a huge breakdown, but we'll definitely try and get as in depth on as many topics as we can.
And to be perfectly honest, not everything we say is gonna be gold, but we're gonna have hot takes. We care about this, but like we care about this football thing. This is our life. We eat, sleep, breathe this stuff. We've
Yeah.
been talking about running a podcast for years, so we do know what we're talking about in terms of the general consensus of what the public would think about a free agent
Yeah.
signing, for example. And we put a lot of research into this. So
Yeah.
then again, we also don't know anything.
We're
So
your average fan that spends too much time looking at Twitter posts and like fan blogs and reading into free agency and all those things.
It's literally my only bookmark tab on my computer is over the cap.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying we spot rack. I'm sorry, I'm an over the cap loyalist.
Do you
Okay,
call it
now I do
spot
like.
rack? I call it spot track.
Maybe I'm just mispronouncing.
I don't
I don't
know.
know. Yeah,
Whatever. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But so, speaking of don't know anything, I don't know about the feeling of a Super Bowl
Mm.
championship. Just as a Buccaneers fan, Colin, just tell us a little bit about the last week and how you've been feeling.
Yeah, so we're 6 days removed. I think I think it was surprising to me how bad of a game it was based off of like
Yeah,
everybody was hyping it up as like a big contest. It's going to be an incredible shootout. Brady versus Mahomes, the GOAT versus the next GOAT or whatever. And it was an absolute blowout of a Super
yeah.
Bowl. And it's great for me because Bucks have been in 2 Super Bowls now and they've absolutely dominated in both of them. Shout out to
Yeah.
the Raiders fans. Thanks for John Gruden. We needed that rental. Tony Dungy deserved it, but we needed that rental.
If you would have told me before the game that the Chiefs wouldn't score a single touchdown, I would have literally been like, "What do you want to bet?"
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee
Yeah.
you that the Chiefs will score a touchdown. And it was just impressive to see the Bucks defense putting on the pressure. I mean, obviously, I know with Eric Fisher getting hurt, as well as Mahomes not being 100%, he was probably closer to 85
Yeah.
at the time of the game, closer to 85, and. I mean, I truly do believe that the Bucks just had the right game plan, the right
Yeah.
players, the pieces. It looked fantastic.
Todd
They
Bowles.
they shut down Tyreek completely. In my opinion, I also felt like the plays that we saw out of the Chiefs they made all year they didn't make.
Yeah.
Like Tyreek dropping the ball in the end zone, a tough catch, no
Demarcus
doubt. But
Robinson dropping the ball on that
I,
sideways throw, incredible throw. Holy
I
crap.
mean,
Yeah.
you can't sit here and say Pat Mahomes played bad one bit.
Yeah.
Like he he
No.
he he was running for his life the
He
whole
had like
time. I saw
70 rushing yards.
And not only that, but I saw a combined, he ran for around 500 total yards side to side and backwards,
Mm-hmm.
which was the most in any player in Super Bowl
Mm-hmm.
history.
The Buccaneers had the most quarterback pressures in Super Bowl history. It was
Yeah.
not a good day to be a Patrick Mahomes because all you can do is just hope that your guys are going to make the plays. And I think
Yeah.
the biggest drop in my opinion, was the Travis Kelsey third down
Third
drop
down drive.
on their I think it was their second or third drive of the game. And
Yeah.
everybody you could just feel it in the air that the team was not like they were not in the right headspace after that moment. I
Yeah.
guess so for me, when all of this whole playoff run happened, this is 13 years removed from the last time the Bucks were in the playoffs. We lost our first game right away. We were like 10-6, and it was a divisional round game. It was a
To the
bad,
Giants.
yeah. And so I think that was to JPP, by the way. And I think that's the year that the Giants went to the Super Bowl and beat Brady.
Was.
But so 13 years removed from an appearance, 18 years removed from a win. The biggest game to me was the Packers. And as soon as that happened, I had that in my heart that it was going to be a win. We were in Tampa Bay. Like that was incredible. The fact that that all happened to have a Super Bowl on home turf,
Mhm.
it's so absolutely biased. Like
Right.
they and most of the tickets of this Super Bowl weren't available to the public. They were given to local healthcare workers in Tampa Bay. So it was just a home game. I felt so
Yeah.
bad.
And I'll tell you from watching from my couch, I was like, holy crap, this stadium looks full.
Yeah,
I was like, this doesn't look like there's 7,500 or 10,000 or
it
whatever
was
they were trying to put in there.
28,000 people.
Yeah, and I'm just saying it was like I don't even see the cardboard cutouts because there are so many
Yeah,
people
I
here.
know.
And you had a cardboard cutout there,
Yeah,
yeah?
I was looking for myself that entire game. Everybody I talked to knew that I was there and they were on the lookout for me, but I don't think anybody saw me. There's no way. They barely showed the stands. And I mean, now in today's NFL broadcast, the cameras that you would hope to see yourself on, they're using like the really fancy cameras that blur the backgrounds and get
Yeah.
that incredible picture. So you
Those
can't
red
see, yeah,
cameras.
you can't see anything. But yeah, I felt bad as a Bucks fan towards the Chiefs fans because it was so biased. But then I remembered the Chiefs had fans the entire year at home,
Yeah.
every single game, and it was always a huge, incredible advantage to the Chiefs. So I stopped feeling bad about it. I was like, I don't
The,
even care.
the, the thing that's kind of crazy to me as a diehard football fan was I never even like it's 31-9 and I'm like I never thought no one would score in the fourth
Hmm.
quarter, right?
Yeah,
But here's the thing, I never was sitting there going, "Oh, the Chiefs are dead." Like for whatever reason, I'm just so programmed to
Mahomes.
seeing them they can score so quickly and they're so good. I never was like, "Oh, they're done. they're
Yeah,
done. They're done. It took the interception that was swatted and picked
Devin
off
White.
for me to be
Yeah,
like, yeah, I was like, okay, I think the game is done. But even at that, I wasn't sure. And that's just a testament to how good they
yeah.
are,
For me,
you know?
it was Antoine Winfield giving Tyreek Hill
Yeah.
some justice.
Yeah.
So that's what did it for
So
me.
do you think the Bucks can repeat?
Yes, I mean
Yeah.
I think with Brady, there's always a chance. I think
Mhm.
our defense is incredibly underrated, and I think people realize that in the Super Bowl. And so, what's going to happen with our defense, I don't know because we have a huge amount of free agents that are key contributors. Shaq Barrett was the guy that dominated that game pressure wise.
Yeah.
Levante David, our other linebacker, that's not Devin White, who's been incredible, one of the best linebackers in the league,
9 years.
is
Yeah.
also a free agent. So we'll see how that goes. But our secondary is the most exciting thing. You saw our secondary hold their own against Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, and so on and so forth.
All young guys.
All of them all under rookie contracts still. Very
Yeah.
young. So
Yeah, it was impressive to see how physical they were. And that's the thing I always knew about beating the Chiefs was, man, if you can get your hands on their wide receivers as well as get pressure on the quarterback, that's the only way you can win,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
them not having Eric Fisher and you guys having the awesome defensive line that you had
Exactly.
and pass rushers was a recipe for disaster for them.
Yeah, I think everybody's talking about the pressures and stuff like that, but I think the biggest influence is the fact that the Bucks had the best run defense. You can't even
Yeah.
you can't do anything about it. They
The
literally
Chiefs didn't even run in
they
the
had
first
no
half.
hope. They had no hope.
Yeah.
Every single time they ran their draws or their outside tosses or whatever it was, 2 yard gain at best because Devin White and Levante David can track the entire field and Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea are going to hold the middle down because they're just monsters of men. It's unfair.
Yeah.
So I think that's a key component. It takes away a whole side of the game.
And not to mention the fact I read this stat the Chiefs had the number one offense based off of screens, running back, and wide receiver in the NFL, and they had 0 positive yards,
Hmm.
an exact net of 0 on their screen. 8 screens they ran to wide receivers and running back for a total of 0,
Yep.
and that was the key because with that type of pressure, they're like, all right, how do we relieve pressure? We'll do a screen here, we'll do a screen there,
Yeah.
let them get through, and then no, because Devin White just running that 1040 and just fucking just mobbing straight
Yeah.
across and just very
The Bucks
impressive.
only blitzed 5 times.
It's
They only
crazy.
brought more than 4 people 5 total times, and they were bringing blitzes like 78% of the time throughout the year. It's crazy.
Okay, so I ask you this: as a Bucks fan, what's the biggest challenge to the Buccaneers heading into next year? Other than let's just say you bring a good core group back of these free
Yeah.
agents, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for the Bucks to actually repeat next year?
We had a horrible first half of the season, and a lot of that had to do with the team not being gelled, no preseason, no offseason, a whole new cast of people with Tom Brady, and I mean even our coaches are getting used to each other. So I think continuing the hot streak that you saw, they started off games really well and then could disappear. So figuring out a way to keep I think keeping Brady's idea of an offense, the short yardage, consistently running the ball. Those are the things that they need to hone in on in a game where they already have a lead. Because if they keep just like three and outing on throwing the ball deep and doing all these big plays, then they keep teams like the Chiefs who can jump back in it in an instant right on the edge. So I think that's the biggest thing. If they're gonna actually look to repeat, consistency and running the ball more. Because I mean, you saw that the Saints game earlier in the season. They ran the ball 4 times, and I think 2 of those were like Brady 1 yard sneaks. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought Rojo ran really hard, especially in that first half. And then I thought Fournette played great.
oh
It was probably he had just that swagger that you saw in the
yeah,
Jacksonville champion or AFC Championship run.
his touchdown
And
drive.
yeah, he was great. Well, I also think a huge key to this, and I thought it was really interesting. The Bucks head coaching staff, or just coaching staff in general, they all these other teams are having all their coordinators interviewing for head coaching jobs, and the
Hmm.
offensive coordinator leaving here, defensive coordinator here, promotions internally. There were no requests for Todd
No,
Bowles.
there were, but he declined them because he said you're just
Yeah,
interviewing me because of the Rooney Rule. No, thank you.
yeah, yeah, but what I'm saying is their coaching staff wasn't depleted. All these other teams that are doing well, their coaching staffs get depleted. Meanwhile, the Bucks go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, and they're essentially going to bring back whoever they want because everyone's still there.
Yeah.
And personally, as a Titans fan, I'm sitting here thinking you pay Todd Bowles or anyone on that defensive staff whatever you want and get us a new defensive coordinator.
Hmm.
Like we didn't interview really anyone other than Terrell Austin, who I still would have rather given a shot
Yeah.
than it promote Shane Bowen. But I just thought that that's a key to you guys next year is that you get everyone, the
Bringing everyone
coaching staff.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
Hmm.
Doesn't happen often
Mm-mm.
when a team makes Super Bowl
Definitely.
run and keeps
I
everyone.
think you saw that last year with the Chiefs, who were the first team to really bring people back 2 years in a row. But again,
Yeah,
it's similar situation. I think it has a lot to do with right now NFL teams rush to hire because they want to
yeah,
start their offseason program as soon as possible, and most of them that's January, right? But for these teams that are running through the playoffs, it's through February, and they don't want to take your calls unless it's serious. And then also you have the issues with the Rooney Rule and diversity in coaching, where I mean, a lot of these coordinators that deserve chances aren't getting chances just because of their race, and that's probably for a whole other podcast. But it's a thing where I think the Bucks will benefit from another year of being together, but I don't see this unit. I guess this is a Chiefs standpoint too. I don't see this unit staying together after this next year. Byron Leftwich is
yeah.
going to get a shot as a head coach, and I hope it's Bruce Arians retires, like he keeps kind of mentioning, and that's the chance that Byron Leftwich can become the head coach. That would be a great place.
Yeah. And you just touched on the Chiefs. The one guy who 100% has deserved a head coaching position for 3 years is Eric Bieniemy,
Yeah,
and it's criminal almost that he didn't get that opportunity. I know he was making the Super Bowl run, but he did all the interviews.
yeah, every
Yeah,
single one.
and Andy Reid wants him to move on and have success, knows he has what it takes. So I hate
Yep.
seeing that
And I think for like the
for
last
him.
2 years, it was, does he even want to be a head coach? And this year, he just came out and said, I do want to be a head coach. I will be a head coach next year if you let me.
Yeah,
Somebody just needs to hire me. And that's all. It was very
yeah.
clear.
And that would be the biggest like move I think a team could make in the offseason
Yeah.
season. Speaking of which, big moves so far this
Hmm.
offseason. Some things that have happened, obviously, since January, since the end of the season. Matt Stafford and Goff switched teams,
Hmm.
as well as a whole boatload of picks went over to the Lions.
Hmm.
What did you think of that trade?
Um, we kind of talked about it a little bit about the whole, is Jared Goff a top 16 quarterback? I I like the trade as a Lions fan, and I get it. Matthew Stafford was going to leave. This has been a problem with the Lions and Stafford, and just in general, the Lions organization throughout basically the last 20 years, going back to Barry Sanders. I mean, you had Megatron who left, Calvin Johnson. For he retired too early for that same reason.
Hall of Fame, by the
Hall of
way.
Fame,
Congrats to
congratulations. Yeah,
Megatron.
I had the jersey in my closet. I should have got it out. But yeah, I think it's a Lions problem. I don't think there's anything that they could do about it. Stafford was going to leave, whether it was fine, I'll just stop playing. Uh,
Yeah,
So why
and
not?
here's the thing: you can't tell me there isn't. Matt Stafford has zero leadership problems. Physically, he's incredible. The only thing is he struggles with some injury, but he plays through crazy
Hmm.
injuries. And the Rams we've seen with Jalen Ramsey and what they've been willing to do to make moves to extend their Super Bowl window.
Yeah,
Because right, like they've had the defense, but they've struggled
yeah,
offensively at times. The year they made the Super Bowl, Jared Goff was phenomenal. He was great, but also that was Sean McVay's system was
similar.
just coming in, and they had Woods and Cooper Cup was fantastic. They had Brandon Cooks that year.
Hmm.
People forget they had the
Gurley had
stable of
his
guys.
his almost MVP season.
Other than those last the playoffs, they lighten his load and
Yeah,
kind of stuff like that.
yeah.
But yeah, they've had the pieces, and they basically have mortgaged their future for another 2, 3,
Hmm.
4 years. Their salary cap is going to be really tough to deal with over the next few years. But meanwhile, Detroit absorbs that cap from Jared Goff, and they don't care because they have plenty to deal with, right? Or plenty of cap space at the moment. It's not going to hurt them to have Jared Goff's contract for a year or two until it's friendly to get rid
Yeah.
of him or move on, right?
I mean, I think for them, the picks are the biggest thing, and it's crazy that they were able to get that many, and it only has to do with the fact that Jared Goff has been underperforming, and he has the biggest contract. But kind of what you're talking about with like Jared Goff at a top year there, um, it kind of reminds me of like what's going to happen with Carson Wentz too. I think for both of those teams, the Lions and the Rams, they're kind of just at different places in their organization. The Lions can hold off on being the team that's going to make the playoffs and make a run for a couple of years. The Rams have to do it in the next 2 years or it's over because
Over.
Stafford can do it for them. But I mean, it's one of those things where I think they're in a position where if they don't win soon, their guys are aging out. Their guys are gonna need too much money. They're about to lose a bunch of defensive pieces this year, and everybody's going to start looking at the next guy up because they can't pay everyone. They're out of money.
Yeah, they're out of money.
Yeah.
I think it's personally, I think the Rams have been a very good team for a while, just based off that defense.
Hmm.
They've been good. Also, the Rams are tremendous in terms of what we talked about earlier, the Rooney Rule and head coaches and front office staff and stuff of people being diverse. They're actually getting first or a third round pick for having an executive
Hmm.
being able to diversify their front
Wasn't it
office like
wasn't
that,
it a
and that's
GM
yeah,
that was
it was
hired?
a GM hire, yeah, and so
Yeah.
I actually he was hired away to be a
Yeah, that's what I
GM,
meant.
and they get a pick for that. It's a new rule that the NFL has put in the
Yeah.
last 2 or 3 years, and that's a smart way. If you know you're trading picks to get Matt Stafford, you're getting essentially draft picks by following this initiative.
Yeah, I
You
it's kind
know,
of I kind of see it as both a good and a bad thing. I think the NFL has been like, hey, you can monetize, hire diverse coaches and hope they get hired. That
I
it's a
obviously
whole thing.
there's the social part of it, but I'm
Yeah.
saying in terms of you keeping your team stocked with talent. I mean, why wouldn't you take advantage of the rule? It's a business,
Yeah. Yeah.
at the end of the day.
I mean,
Speaking of business, Deshaun Watson and
oh yeah,
JJ
yeah.
Watt and the Houston Texans.
Texans
I'm just
business.
thinking to myself, yeah, oh my gosh, business wise, what are you guys doing? Getting rid of your entire equipment staff, your PR, Bill O'Brien, you're getting rid
Well,
of the
Bill
team
O'Brien is
president
that was a good.
resigns. I know. I'm just saying, like, just as an organization, have you seen something this big happen for a team in the last
I
decade?
can't remember the last time I saw something. I guess the right now I feel like we're pre Jaguars having Shahad Khan or whatever own the team and then
Yeah.
them bringing in Tom Coughlin. I feel like we're at that stage right before that because right now it's just everything they're doing. I almost think is a bad move. It's almost
Mhm.
entirely all bad moves. It reminds me of the Browns and when they brought in
Moneyball.
yeah, when they just like started basically being like, all right, we're gonna accrue picks, we're gonna be horrible for like another 6 years, and then we're gonna fire the guy that did all that, and then bring a new guy in. And
Yeah.
I almost think that right now
Shout out Glenn Dorsey,
it
by the
has
way,
to
my
be
boy.
it has to be on purpose at this point because they're selling so many. They're selling the worst business out there to a place where people have to want to come to play for you. Like
Yeah.
teams in the NFL, people will travel to a team. People will go join a team because they want to play for them. All they have is the ability to draft players, and not even in the first round or the second round. They have a third round draft pick this year. That's it. So like,
Yeah.
how are you gonna start a team? You're just gonna be picking up the scraps of free agency and hoping you could overpay players to come and join a team that has a horrible
And
culture.
an example of a team or a player you're overpaying is a guy like Randall Cobb. I mean, like, yeah, they paid him way too much money to be there the last few years. And here's the thing: Deshaun Watson's not happy. Deshaun Watson's a good dude. Like, he's just genuinely a
Mhm.
good person. He's not a drama king. That's not kind of what he does. He's just like, yo, all I would like you to do is think about interviewing my guys that I think I could work well with. He didn't say hire them. He didn't say if you hire them or don't hire them, I'm going to demand a trade. Here's what he did. They traded his best player that they like in D Hop. They got rid of David Johnson, and I was like, okay,
No,
whatever.
they got
That was
David
a
Johnson.
or sorry, they got David Johnson. Excuse me. When that was like okay, whatever. But they didn't ever have a good running back to support him. They never drafted a guy to help him out.
There was always Lamar Miller hurt every year, and then random backups will come in and fill in the
Duke
space.
Johnson at
They tried
times. I mean,
Deonta Foreman.
yeah, shout out. He's on the
Yeah.
Titans right now.
Um.
But
Yeah.
I just felt like for them, they like, man, you have a real franchise quarterback, a high selling. Fans love that guy.
Hmm.
He had an MVP caliber season on a 4-12 football team that could have. They've lost a lot of close games. They lost 2 games to the Colts by fumbling on the literally like the last play of the
Hmm.
game. Twice they could have won those games. They took the Titans to overtime, and they lost on the last second field goal off the doink for the AFC South crown. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, gosh, they lost so many close
Yep.
games, and all they just got to do is help this man.
It's hard. I can't imagine being Deshaun Watson. I can't imagine being on that team and just seeing them. It was so strange because the Laramie Tunsil move made it seem like they were going all in on the team, and then they just immediately started selling. And
Yeah.
Their free agency acquisitions were strange. Their contracts were strange. Everything just kind of got weird over in Houston, and it's just I don't know. It all culminated this offseason where Watson wants to be in on the transactions the team is making. He wants to be a part of deciding who this team is going to hire to be its culture guy, and they just say okay, and then don't even help him out. They don't give him any heads up on what's going to happen. They just hire Nick Casario from the Patriots, and it's over, just like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because if I'm Watson, I'm I mean it makes sense. Or sorry, if I'm a GM and I'm hired and I'm the team president, let's say I'm fresh because the other one resigned. I'm just thinking I'm just gonna do what I'm not gonna do exactly what my guy
Yeah,
wants, but I'm gonna try to accomplish what he wants in the best way
have
for the team.
yeah have a conversation.
Yeah. And then JJ Watt, the city's essentially emotional leader, but also he's been obviously hurt, but he still plays at a high
Yeah,
level when he's on
two
the field.
years
No
two
doubt.
years removed from winning them a playoff game single handedly.
Literally single-handedly. And
Yeah,
and and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, all right, let's just think about or JJ Watt. He walks up and goes, "Hey, I think this is the best move the Texans made this offseason was actually releasing him per his request
oh,
because he had
finally.
he had no cap, right? If they cut him, it would be a no cap hit. But that means that a trade would be a no cap hit as
Yeah,
well. You can't tell me they could have dialed up the Packers and said, "Hey, for a seventh round pick or whoever another cap stable
yeah.
team, do you want Watt?" I'm sure there are
He could
plenty of
have
teams that
easily been a
would
Jaguar.
easily just trade him where they want just to get a fourth round.
I
Maybe I bet you could get a fourth round for
They
Watt.
could have gotten the second or third round. I bet
Yeah, I mean it depends on I can't remember his exact cap number for
it
this one
was
year.
14. It was about 14 million for this year.
Okay, so if it's 14 million, I mean that not every team can work with that, but maybe a cut
That's
and trade. Yeah.
that's why I say the
Well,
Jaguars because they're the highest in the league and they have the most picks in the league too. So it's the Jaguars and the
well,
Dolphins with all the picks, and the Jaguars and the Dolphins with all the cap.
probably the Rams would have traded for him if we're being honest. So I'm just thinking to myself, wow, that was the first right move.
Yeah,
Okay, you made one right move. Let's follow up with some other right moves. As a Titans fan, blow it up.
yeah,
Like absolute destruction. Trade Watson, do nothing right. Get yourself in cap problems.
yeah.
Accidentally just trade all your players. I don't care. Like be terrible because they compete every year with the Titans hard.
Well,
So
it's Deshaun Watson
uh,
competes every year with everyone because that guy will
you're
sell his soul for a win on a field.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Let's just touch on other
yeah,
quarterbacks real quick. We have Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, maybe some Garoppolo movement.
yeah.
What do you think of the quarterback offseason
Yeah,
situation?
I think the best place to probably start here would be Sam Darnold, just because we know what's going to happen at pick number one. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence, and then it's. Do you believe the Jets are going to take Justin Fields or Zach Wilson with the second overall pick, or do you think they just?
Trey Lance is up there too.
I don't think he'll.
He's moving up
I don't
boards.
think
I
I
mean,
don't
Todd
think he can
McShay had
top.
him in the third overall spot.
I don't think he could top Fields and Wilson. I think the only way Wilson doesn't get picked over Lance is if people actually believe like his character issue questions.
Well, let me ask you this: do you want any of those four guys? If you're, are any of those three guys after Lawrence? Do you really want any of them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You think they're good?
I would take Fields for sure. I
Yeah.
would my order would be Fields, Wilson, Lance, Mac Jones after that. And then probably like we can go into that another time. But yeah, I would take Fields. If I'm the Jets, I take Fields.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I want to talk Sam Darnold next because I think if the Jets are going to take Fields, sell Darnold now. Right now.
Yes.
Don't even waste time. Because the New York, and I think a lot of it has to actually do with the New York media. I think if you truly want to demonize a guy and he's already been thrown under the bus, he sees ghosts, right? If you're going to put somebody in that place where you already know that they're not the guy for your city, your team, he's never going to believe it either. So get him out of there. Let him start new and draft a guy that you think can do it, and you'll probably get a first round pick for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think here. A perfect team for him to go to that doesn't actually have a first round pick would be the Colts. I think they have an offensive line that keeps him upright.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing that has been a big issue for him. However, the wide receiver core there in Indianapolis is going to have a little bit of a shakeup with T.Y. Hilton being a free agent and whatnot. But I think got stable running backs, a good offensive
Mm-hmm.
line, a defense that's going to keep you in games. I think Darnold and Phillip Rivers last year would be an equivalent pairing.
Hmm.
I think obviously Phil didn't turn the ball over as much as he did with his last year in LA, but I thought that he did a good job just in general game managing. That was his most game manager year I've ever seen out of Philip
Yeah.
Rivers. And I think that if you put Sam Darnold in there, he's obviously far better mobile. And it felt like once a week we'd get on NFL the check down or Instagram on Bleacher Report or whatever, and Sam Darnold's making some
Oh,
crazy scramble
yeah.
dime throw. The dude has
The
talent.
fake
It's
slide
just
40-yard touchdown run shows you
yeah, I'm
exactly that he can be mobile.
yeah, and so I like Sam Darnold. He's never going to win a Super Bowl.
I mean, I
Sam,
strange quarterbacks
I
win Super Bowls, man.
I bet you an eyebrow shave that
I'm
that
not
man
gonna
never wins
shave
a
an
Super Bowl
eyebrow.
as a starting
I
quarterback. He might LaShawn McCoy and not play a snap and get a Super Bowl ring, but I can tell you another Washington State guy. I see him playing for USC. I'm sitting there and he gets murked.
Yeah.
He gets murked by us. We don't have a single
No.
player drafted on that Wazoo defense. 4 turnovers. They lose by 30.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I guess what I'm saying is you never know what quarterback is going to win a Super Bowl because it doesn't always have to be the big quarterback. You know, it could be the best
Well,
defense, the best runner, the best whatever it is, best coach.
I mean,
McVay
since
almost
Brady
did it with
came,
Goff, right?
hey, almost, yeah, I guess. But like, since what? Since Brady came in the league, it's basically been Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, Breeze,
Breeze only has one.
Heather Manning. Russell Wilson got one. Mahomes got one. That's it.
There,
Flacco. Don't forget young Flack.
Nick
But
Foles.
Flacco's the Nick Foles and Flacco are the only two that really were
Also,
like the
is
random
Joe
quarterback.
Flacco a bad quarterback? I don't say that. I say Joe Flacco was always a very good quarterback.
The day he got his big deal, he drove straight to McDonald's. Remember? Look that story up. He literally
I have no
signed
problem with that.
a massive deal and went straight to McDonald's and ordered a bunch of Big Macs. And I'm like, dude, if I got a signing bonus for $18 million, I wouldn't be going to
I would.
McDonald's, bro. Taco Bell. I'm just I'm just thinking to myself,
Yeah.
like, why are
Okay.
you
Yeah.
that's just he just
I
makes
don't.
bad
I
decisions.
don't remember what song it is, but it's a song with Fergie, and it's like drive through Taco Bell, and I'm just like, even Fergie knows that you still go to Taco Bell when you make millions.
All right. Speaking of making millions and Taco Bell, we're gonna move on to
Another
who I
quarterback.
think
Yeah.
is a sneaky fat quarterback is Russell Wilson. I've seen him shirtless plenty of times. I don't know if anyone else has, but that dude is sneaky fat. However, he's been on a crazy media tour. Him, Sierra doing GQ, and they were on I think it was the Tonight Show recently as well. They're launching a new fragrance. And Russell's been very public about his comments. He wants to have personnel decisions. He wants to be doing a lot more.
Deshaun
So
Watson
I
style.
think, yeah, and a little background on me. I worked for the Seahawks in football operations back in 2016. And I met this team and I met this coaching staff. The majority of them are still there. And I'll tell you, Russell is a fantastic leader, but he's not like the best friends of players. Like he just does his own thing, and I think people respect him for the grind. I would love to see 3 4 years now since then how much he's changed and how involved he truly does want to be with the players and stuff.
Yeah.
Because man, I think they got to listen to him, or else they're going to lose another guy like Watson.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's interesting, and I think the most interesting thing about this whole Wilson situation is that Wilson comes out and says that he's frustrated. And then the Seahawks come out and say that they're frustrated with him being frustrated. And it's
Yeah.
almost like they're telling him to like, hey, shut your mouth. You're the quarterback. You're not the GM. You're not the coach. You're a team leader. Lead the team that we give you. And I think that's going to be interesting because that's a situation where this could blow up big and he could be gone.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Everyone talks about Pete Carroll as a player's coach. Well, the most important player he needs to coach right now isn't having a good time.
Yeah.
So he needs to switch it up, and he needs to think about that team when they won that Super Bowl. What won them the Super Bowl certainly wasn't their offense, but they had leaders everywhere, and they still have leaders on that team. Bobby Swag, they got KJ Wright, and those guys. KJ Wright's a free agent, I
Yes,
believe,
he
this
is.
year. But I think that those two guys I don't think KJ will leave. I think he's been there for a long time. They've had success. I don't think he's going to get a massive deal if he left anyway.
Probably
I,
not.
I just think that those guys, those core pieces, will still be there, but they are at the bottom of the league every year in offensive line spending, and it's like Russell's getting hit so much, and I understand it. Watson's has the same issue. Both these guys are mobile, talented. They take care of the ball for the most part. Watson has a little more fumbling issues than Russell does, but
Wilson has more interception issues.
will this year in
Hmm.
particular. In the past, no.
No, not at all.
That
Yeah,
and so I think that they need to invest if they want to make Russell happy. You gotta get offensive
you got
linemen.
to be
You just got to
fresh.
do it.
Yeah,
Chris Carson's a free agent. It's like, okay, are you going to draft a running back? You've missed on all your running backs. CJ Prosise, third round, miss. Penny, is he healthy? Miss if not.
yeah.
Like they got to get him some help. Moore, I can't remember his first name, is a free agent
David
for
Moore.
wide receiver. David Moore is a free
They
agent as well
drafted
for the
Freddie Swain to replace David Moore though, and I think he'll do that just fine.
I mean, yeah, and that's something I'm just
Yeah.
saying. Now they're going to need to involve Russell in this draft process and this free agent signing, or else he will be unhappy and he will not play next year. He will do a Watson.
Yeah, they hit really well. I can't remember his name right now, but they hit really well on their guard that they drafted this year. They have been trying. They had the oh gosh, I mean, you go back all the way like Russell Okung, who's still in the league and is considered like a top 10 tackle in the league still, but he's always hurt. It
They,
doesn't matter. And then you had
yeah,
oh man, he's on the Jets. Um, it was a first round draft pick, Jermaine Ifedi, who was also a draft bust who is supposed to replace Okung. They try, but they always make the weirdest draft picks. They draft they
yeah,
draft
they reach that.
they draft linemen that aren't even supposed to be drafted for another 2 rounds sometimes. And I get that
Yeah,
teams have their guys, but I mean, they're not hitting, so it's clearly not working.
yeah.
Damian Wilson or something like that is the name of their guard. I can't remember.
Well, they traded for that stalwart left tackle from the Texans too. That's another Texans move
Yeah.
that was Dwayne
Yep.
Brown, and I was just like, Texans, why would you trade the best offensive
Because
lineman you
they
have?
traded for a better offensive lineman.
Yeah,
Larry Tunsil, yeah.
yeah, I mean it was a process trade. But
Yeah.
let's just run through these other
Yeah.
quarterbacks quickly so we don't get stuck on
Oh
this
yeah.
topic. Carson Wentz, where does he go?
So we talked a lot about Indianapolis as a place for Sam Darnold, and I think a lot of people are thinking Carson Wentz as a place for or is a good quarterback for Indianapolis, and I see that. They have a solid run game. They have Michael Pittman Jr. and they also have like Paris Campbell, who they drafted the year before. And then they have some good tight end options, and I think that's a team where they lost Anthony Costanzo, and so they need a left tackle, but they also have enough cap where they could support a quarterback like Carson Wentz contract, and they could probably get a good trade bounty off of it. Like they don't have to trade a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I mean, here's a sneaky thing that I is why I think he will go there. I agree Carson Wentz will be an Indianapolis
Okay.
Colt by the end of the offseason. Frank Wright
Yep, absolutely.
was his offensive coordinator in that 2016 season where Carson Wentz was basically an MVP candidate,
100%.
and he and Carson are still in communication. A, but B, he knows how to utilize this man as
Yeah,
well as how to protect him. So I think that that's why he will end up going there.
I agree.
But that's my big reason. And then I wanted to touch on Derek Carr. I don't think he moves. I think he stays put. I think he's a good
Yeah.
leader. I just think they know they need to do other things with the team.
I think the biggest thing about I put up Derek Carr in our show run for that reason is because it's talked about every single year. Every single year, Derek Carr is brought up as a player that they're looking to move on from. He doesn't have the biggest cap hit. He isn't the biggest trade target. Nobody would probably give them more than a third round pick for him, right? So it's why are they trying to move on from Derek Carr? I almost think it's because they're the Deshaun Watson buyer. That's the
Okay,
only
hey,
reason that they could get rid of Derek Carr.
obviously Gruden is all in enamored with Watson,
Yeah,
and that's true. It was since Gruden's QB camp when he was doing that for ESPN before he came
yeah.
out of the broadcast booth. But I want to point out this is that Derek Carr was a second round
Hmm.
pick, and that's why his cap hit isn't
Well,
crazy.
I mean, he's been
But
re-signed since. He's not on a rookie deal anymore.
I know, but I'm saying just in general, that's why it was never a big cap hit, and why he's always been talked about as someone that they can move on from.
Yeah, it has a
You
lot. It
take,
has a lot to do with the fact that he has up and down years, like crazy up and down years.
yeah. I mean, since he broke his leg, he hasn't been as good.
And his
That's just
his
facts.
home road stats are incredibly different. It is so egregious the amount of poor performances he has on the road compared to home. It's crazy. It's actually like there's something wrong there.
Well, I want to bring up just a quick, just pick one, okay?
Hmm.
Do you think Derek Carr is better than Jared Goff?
Yes.
So that puts Jared Goff closer to 18. Do you think Sam Darnold is better than Derek Carr?
No.
Okay. Do you think Sam Darnold is better than Jared
No.
Goff? No?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to see where we were at.
Yeah.
Do you think Carson Wentz is better than Jared
No.
Goff? Do you think Carson Wentz is better than Sam Darnold?
Yes.
Do you think Derek Carr is better than Carson Wentz?
Absolutely.
Okay. Just wanted
Do
to
you
see where
remember?
we were
So
at in the rankings.
yeah, so I guess another note to people: the year after the draft that we went to, we went back to Chicago the next year for a Monday Night Football game of Philadelphia versus the Bears, right? And that
Yep.
was Carson Wentz's first Monday Night Football game. We sat there watching pregame warmups, and I said, "This dude is missing so many throws." I
Yeah.
called it out. I said, I don't know if it's his wide receivers running bad routes or something, but he is missing so many throws, and I still think to this day he has that exact same problem.
Yeah, he's very hit or miss,
Yeah.
inaccurate quarterback. And then really quick, I see in here where we wanted to talk about Orlando Brown Jr.
Yes.
real
Yeah.
quick. And while we're on the topic of people offering trades, why did you want to bring him up?
Well, if you aren't following what's been happening, he plays right tackle for the Ravens because they have Ronnie Stanley.
Boo! Mhm.
Um, sorry, I can't. I remember we're not allowed to say the R word in here at all. Can't
And
bring
that's
up.
not the old Washington football team's mascot. We're talking about the Baltimore football team.
Yeah, the Indianapolis football team go all the way back.
Also,
Yeah.
but the Houston Texans are fine. Feel
Yeah,
free to say them.
yeah. So Orlando Brown says, "I want to be a left tackle," and it makes sense. It's living up to his dad. He made a promise. He had a dream. He wants to fulfill that dream. And hell, he's young and he played so good last year at left tackle. And
Yeah.
the biggest thing about it is his money. He needs money, right? Right tackles will get paid about a third of the amount of money that a left tackle will get paid, and he's in his contract year. So this is not only is it a I want to fulfill my lifelong dream of being one of the best left tackles in the NFL to honor my dad. I also want to be paid. I want to
Yeah.
make 18 to 24 million next year. you know.
Now the thing is too, it's like, was his sample size at left tackle large enough for him to warrant a massive contract? Because
Yeah.
truthfully, man, the teams have taken a risk on a lot less.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's why he'll get a chance. And he said I will not play right tackle for the Baltimore Ravens next year. That is
Good. I'm blitzing right side all day. If
so they one, they need to find a new tackle, and two, they have a guy that they can trade for. I mean, people are saying anywhere from a singular first round pick to like early second round pick and like a fifth round pick, or even like 2/3 or something like that. For a guy that's on his contract year, I can't imagine he gets traded to a team where he doesn't immediately sign a top left tackle contract as if he's a free agent.
Yeah, like I could see plenty of these large cap teams making a move and just being like, hey, why address the left tackle position through the first round of the draft when we can get a guy for basically the same cap hit for a second future first, even. Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I already know the perfect place. You want to go play for a team that has a good culture and a good chance at maybe going to a playoff game? The Indianapolis Colts.
Nah,
Anthony
bro.
Costanzo just retired. They have the second most cap in the NFL. They have second and third round picks that they can trade for him, or even a future first, whatever it is. If you want to find your starting left tackle to solidify again that the Indianapolis Colts have one of the best offensive lines in football, they need to make that trade. I mean, that's the one that makes the most sense. And then the next one is like the Jaguars or the Dolphins, because if the Dolphins believe, then they can go and do that. But
Go there. Stay out of the AFC South.
I know
Appreciate
you
it.
don't want to do that. But that's just
Yeah.
truthfully, that's a great
Yeah,
spot.
speaking of cap, let's jump into this.
Yeah.
The cap is going to be different this year.
Is
For
it?
those
Yeah.
of you that do not know, the salary cap is basically the top. Colin might be able to add a little more context to this, but the top 51 players of your
That's
roster
every year, yeah.
every year, what the total sum of their contracts is, has to reach a certain number, and teams have to be under the cap or else they suffer a penalty.
Correct. So basically, the cap for right now, our caps are around like 200 million, 210 million. That the cap's gone up every single year. This is the first year it's going to go down. The projected number was 175 million, and the recent numbers are looking at between 180 and 181, and that'll come out next month when the new league year officially starts. But so right now the projection is 180 million and $500,000 to hit that middle ground, and that's a huge decrease. And just to kind of
Yeah.
give you like a status of the NFL, right now 12 teams are over the cap limit. So that's 12 teams that have too much money dedicated to current players and
At the projected
at
181,
the
right?
projected 180,500,000 dollars. That's 12 teams. 4 teams are sitting right above or like right underneath that number, but they do not have enough money to sign their own free, rookie incoming class because you have to
That
pay
means
your
half the league is going to be making big moves. Half the league is going to have to move
yep,
players, restructure contracts, cut people, trade people.
exactly.
And for just for fun, so you guys know, for years, Colin and I have put up posters and we've written down every single free agent signing for our team or not for our team. And when it has been from our team, we've enjoyed a lovely piece of cake. In past years, I bring it to work and it's a cookie cake
Yeah.
and it says "Happy NFL Free Agency, Happy Birthday
I
NFL."
have some cake
And
downstairs just in case JJ Watt decides to sign with the Bucks.
no, it's going to Titans probably. But um, all right, we're gonna jump into that big time next week.
Yeah.
That's gonna be our big focus is the cap.
So
And yeah,
what we're getting at is expect a crazy season, a crazy off
yeah,
season, because 16 teams are not going to be able to sign their their rookie class because it's about $10 million for if you have all 7 draft picks. So that's crazy amount. There's teams like the Eagles and the Saints who are over 40 million and 60 million over the cap right now, which means they basically have to lose a quarter of their roster. So
yeah.
it's
Or just Carson Wentz.
yeah, Carson Wentz gets them like I think it's like 18 million closer to being under the cap. So
Wow.
it's a wild ride. Zach Ertz is gone
So
too. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna jump into basically. I think we're gonna go by division, and kind of look at team needs as well as what they could do to create cap
Yeah.
space, and then after we do that for all 32 teams, we'll jump into free agent availability, who's available at the position, as well as who makes sense.
Yeah. And
But yeah,
we have rankings and all of that stuff and projected contracts and all of those things.
yeah, and so make sure you if you love free agency, I can't stop refreshing news about every single rumor and every single thing. It's my favorite time of the year. It's better than
Yep.
Christmas, and so I love it a lot. So
Since
you're gonna want to listen to these episodes.
since we've started this episode that we're recording, I saw tweets that Tyrell Williams, D Ford, and a couple other people are getting released, which is just like another person to the list, right?
Well, I mean, I knew Ty Williams was going to release. It's crazy he didn't play at all last year because that shoulder
Yeah.
labrum he tore.
Yeah.
But D Ford is just it's interesting as well. We want to touch on one last thing before we wrap this. Super Bowl betting odds. I know we just got done with the
Was it
Super
like
Bowl.
296 days till the next Super Bowl or something like that?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I live in Las Vegas and I can't help but gamble on occasion. I didn't do super well on my Super Bowl bets. I went 50-50 exactly, actually. If the Chiefs would have scored any points at all in the fourth quarter, I would have been a little bit richer, but it's okay. So I went ahead and I went to the sports book at Caesars and I looked at the odds coming up for the futures. And I just wanted to point out 5 nice bets, 5 ideas. First of all, I'm a Titans fan. We're 30-1. That's plus 3,000. So if you put in 10 bucks, for example, you make 300. So I was like, all right, let's go. I just threw down 50 bucks and looking at like a $1,700 hit. So I that's a good bet. I mean, Titans are going to be there guaranteed. And then other than that, we have some interesting ones. Arizona at plus 5,000 is pretty good odds. They're a competitive football team. If you're looking for a flyer on a sneak bet, Baltimore's plus 1,200.
I like Arizona.
Arizona at
I
plus
like that. That's a good one.
5,000. You're telling me if you threw 10 bucks down, you'd make 500. Why not throw 10
Even
bucks down on Arizona?
I mean, and just imagine first half Kyler Murray projecting throughout an entire season where he's healthy, that's a
Yeah.
chance. That's a
And what's
chance.
crazy is teams like Atlanta have better odds, plus 4,000, and Carolina has the same odds in Arizona. They're not even remotely as close. Dallas is plus 2,500. That's
That's funny.
double the odds of Arizona.
Is there I don't know anything about betting, so I'm going to ask you this. Is there a bet that I can make that Dallas isn't going to be in the Super Bowl?
No, there are prop bets where you can
Uh,
do like team win totals over or under a certain amount. Yeah,
yeah.
so like
I just love
yeah.
I just love that it's been like 22 years since Dallas was even in the like a Super Bowl and everybody or won a playoff game or something like that. I don't know.
Speaking of the Houston Texans, their playoff odds are 10,000. So if you bet $10,
Oh,
you can make 1,000. Like that's how serious people think this Watson situation is. Jacksonville's plus
yeah.
5,000. Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not the favorite. The Kansas City Chiefs are the favorite right now.
That's cool.
Tampa Bay is about plus 850. Seattle, for example, is double those odds. I just think it's interesting when you look at all these teams and Pittsburgh's plus 3,000, Philadelphia's plus 5, Saints plus 1,800. I don't know. I like my sneaky pick as Arizona, but just in terms of money,
That's a good one.
and the Rams, I wanted to see what they're plus 2,500. I mean, that's not a bad one either. But just wanted to kind of talk about the odds a little bit and kind of something.
Yeah, especially since the Stafford trade, I would imagine that they would have gone up a lot. But
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that that's an interesting part and something that I don't think every podcast has is they talk about all of these things as well as the odds. And maybe I'll do 3 hot take bets that you got to make a week or something like that.
yeah,
Cool.
sounds cool. I'm cool with that. I mean, gives me a chance to learn more too, because like I said, I don't know anything about betting. I don't intend on putting any money on anything. I mean, I believe the Bucks were going to win the Super Bowl all year last year, and I never once threw a bet
I
down.
was sitting in the casino and I texted you and said, "Hey, want me to make
Yep.
a bet on the Bucks?" And he was like, "No."
Nope. Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us here on the Football Over Family pilot episode podcast. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're about 55 minutes or so. We're gonna try and go for just about an hour every single episode. Got to leave some room for Jesus here, but we're gonna try and keep it consistent around that time. We really appreciate anybody that stopped by and listened. If you're listening live or if you're listening over on YouTube, that would be awesome if you could drop a comment or let us know. Hit that subscription button, all those YouTube things. But Gavin, you want to give a little preview of what's going to be coming up next week? You talked a little bit about the free agency stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to jump into the divisions. We're going to look at the cap situations per division for one conference. We haven't decided AFC or NFC quite yet, but we'll probably jump in and go ahead and just look at the cap situations and how teams can get under the cap, who's at risk of being a cut, whether it makes sense to cut them now or later, because June 1st is a big day in terms of pre-cut roster bonuses and stuff. So that's a big day towards dead cap and everything. So that's probably what we're going to look into next week, as well as obviously NFL news, any other big things that come up. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So thanks for listening to this first episode. Feel free to disagree with Collin in the comments or in the chat. Go ahead and drop me all the thumbs up you want, because everything I said was straight truth.
Let Gavin know if you've decided to place bets against him. I don't know if that's possible either, but if you could just bet against Gavin predicting things right on the show, then let's start that.
I'll start my predictions. I'll let you guys know, and I'm gonna go 100 for 100, guaranteed.
Okay.
Easiest thing I've.
Can I bet it? Can I bet against that bet right there?
No one's here to listen.
That sounds like good odds.
Drop it in the chat.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, please give us a follow here on Twitch if you're watching over there. We're at Football Over Family. And then if you want to drop a subscription on YouTube, again, Football Over Family. Our link is in our channel's About section. And thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Appreciate it. Tighten up.
Fire the cannons. Super Bowl champs. Peace out, everybody.
Thank you.